Hi, I want to welcome you tonight, and I want to thank you for joining me. This is Reverend Dr. Nadine Rosechild Sullivan, and we're coming together tonight again to meditate for our peace and our safety. In this space tonight, it is August 2nd, 2020, and I invite you to take a moment to just settle yourself wherever you are, if at all possible, to allow yourself to sit or to lie down, and to allow yourself to just begin, to get ready to enter in. And I want to talk tonight for just a moment about your intuition, about your own intuitive inner guidance system. And I want to start with a story. I don't know if I've told this before. I'm sure I've told some of you in individual private sessions and spiritual counseling sessions, but I want to talk about, there was a day back when I was young, relatively young, in my spiritual walk. And I had a friend, and she told me by phone that she was someone who didn't own a car, and she lived in Philadelphia, and she was using public transportation, and she told me that she had started to go for the bus, but God told her that the bus had already come and left, and she should wait for the next one. And I was really perplexed by her conversation. I was like, what do you mean God told you that the bus already came and that you should wait? And I was in a very, very Christian space in that window of time, and so was she, and so that terminology worked for you. Maybe the word God doesn't work as much as source or the universe or whatever it is for you, but that was the terminology we were using at that point in time. Also at that point in time, I had a prayer teacher who was teaching. There was a group of mostly women. It wasn't limited to women, but women often show up for the prayer meetings of the church. And so mostly women who were coming together once a week on Thursday nights for a series. I think it was a 10-week Thursday night series in which we were coming together to pray. And the minister who was leading us and guiding us, the ordained woman minister, the ordained minister who happened to be a woman who was leading and guiding those teachings, talked about listening on the inside as you prayed and just being aware of things that drew you toward them or things that made you feel like something when you thought of something that attracted you, or something that sort of twisted a little in your stomach. And she talked about it as a red light, green light kind of space of spirit leading and guiding us in that kind of way. And she would give us some instruction in prayer, 20, 30 minutes, however long her, focus on a scripture verse was about prayer, or however she was teaching it that night. And then we'd break up, I don't remember if there were 10 of us or 30 of us, but it wasn't hundreds. And we'd break up and we'd go to different parts of the church, different parts of the sanctuary, children's church, back rooms, music rooms, wherever, and go. And, there was a place where I could go and I could be alone in a room and crawl under some seats and just be alone with God. And we would go and we would enter into a deep contemplative form of prayer. And then we would come back together when we felt led. And it was really interesting because week after week after week, we all seemed to stop, even though we were in very diverse parts of the building. We all seemed to stop at the same time, even though we couldn't hear each other. And we gathered back together. And as we all came back together, like someone had lifted and raised and tapped a baton, like the orchestra leader had led us, and we'd come back together, and she'd ask us, she'd say, what did you feel like? What did you sense you were praying for? What was there in that space for you? And different people would say, oh, I felt like I was praying for my uncle who has this health issue, or I felt like I was praying for some unknown person in some foreign nation who was facing whatever. And she would affirm for us without any real concrete evidence in that sense. She would affirm for us that we should accept, we should hear and believe what we felt in that space. And it was very solar plexus. It was very, if you're someone who's into the chakra systems, it was very, very solar chakra, very sacral chakra, very centered and grounded in the core of who we were, right? This sense of listening to what we were praying for. And so those two things were going on at the same time, and I started to notice that I would feel led to call someone, like that green light she spoke of, or I would feel like, I'd start to make a phone call, and it would feel funny, and if I went through and made that call at that time, it was a wired hook to the wall phone, but if I go and do that when I felt like not doing it, when that something twisted inside, that phone call wouldn't go well, something didn't work out about that. And so I started to notice and to pay attention. And then there's this day, and I'm taking care of my baby who is, who's toddling around in her diaper, and I go to pick her up and change her diaper because she's reached a point, and I may have told this story, but she's reached a point where her diaper is sagging, it's wet. And it's coming down. They get heavy. Those Pampers, the gel sort of does its stuff, and they sort of begin to descend, and it's kind of starting to descend toward her knees, and I'm thinking it's time to, those things are also expensive, so you don't jump on it. On the other hand, you also don't want your baby to get a diaper rash, and you're a good mother, and, a good father, whatever. And so I go to pick her up and change her, and as I do, there's that weird little twisty feeling in my solar region. And I think in this part of my brain, I think, oh, that's ridiculous. That is simply ridiculous. And that's ridiculous. God does not care if I change this baby's diaper. There is no way that's the voice of God. There's no way there's no way the red light, green light, there's no way my friend with the bus, there's no way, and so I pick the baby up, and I lay out a pad on the couch, and I put her on that pad, and I change her diaper, and I put her back down, and she toddles off away from me. And it's not but a few minutes, 2-3 minutes, whatever it was. And it's not but a few minutes, and I hear this noise, and I look, and there is my toddler grunting. She has squatted behind the couch, behind the curtain, and she is got her hands like this, and she's grunting. And she's pooping in the brand new diaper. And I was like, oh, I did receive a signal. I did know something. That was my intuition. That was guidance. That was a red light. That was God saying, don't go for the bus now. If I had waited 2-3 minutes, if I had listened to that and left her in the saggy diaper for 2 or 3, that would not have affected her skin. No diaper rash would have happened in 90 seconds or 120 seconds if I had waited. But I wouldn't have wasted that diaper. And I began to realize we do have a place of inner knowing. I often tell people about a book by a man named Gavin de Becker called The Gift of Fear. He talked about it many years, 20 years ago, 15 years ago on the Oprah show, came back and talked about it again with Oprah on a 10th anniversary, well before her show ended, and she switched over to whatever she's doing now. And Gavin de Becker's book, Gift of Fear, his book, The Gift of Fear, I consider it one of the best relationship manuals that exist, and often keep, cheap Amazon used copies on hand. Before the pandemic, when there were in-person client sessions, I would sometimes give someone a copy of that book, because in that book there's information about how to hear your intuition if someone's trying to manipulate you. So I highly recommend Amazon used, get the book, The Gift of Fear. Do not pay $948 for it if some weird thing comes. It should cost you $3.99 plus shipping. But whatever that is, that book talks about how to notice when, and how it tells story after story. So Gavin de Becker doesn't come from a spiritual perspective. He comes from an evolutionary science perspective of human beings as biological animals, and he doesn't think of it as the gift of intuition, he's thinking of it as the gift of fear, and he's talking about how a gazelle or a deer out in the forest somewhere, and there's a lion or a panther, and they have a sense that danger is coming, and they obey it. And he said, human beings are the one who will discount their own inner survival signal. So he talks about the gift of fear as an interior survival signal, that with that gift of fear that we have an inner knowing when someone's not good, when someone doesn't mean us well, when something's going poorly, when something's going to happen, and that if we would listen to it, we could protect ourselves and tell. So he tells story after story of someone who felt that they should go check the windows or they should go check the door, and then they dismissed it. They were like, no, I'm sure I locked the door when I came in. I'm sure that window's locked. And they didn't go check it, and then something bad happened, right? Because that was their intuitive, well, he would have said their biological survival signal. He talks about how a woman will approach an elevator, the door will open, and there'll be a man on that elevator, and something about him will set off her fear, her gift of fear. And yet, as a human being, we will dismiss that often, overwhelmingly, and get on that elevator into a closed steel box that can be locked with someone whom we've just had fear of, because we don't want to be that kind of person that judges the other. When we could simply say, oh, I'm going down. No, I'll get the next elevator. We could simply let that go and not get in that steel cage, right? And so he points out, he's like, the gazelle in the forest doesn't say, oh, I don't want to be that kind of gazelle. I don't want to judge that lion. Like, the gazelle listens to its gut, to its own intuitive inner signals. And in the same way, whether you, like Gavin de Becker, credit it to biology and to evolution and to simply the human animal having this knowledge, this interior sense, or whether, like my friend to whom God said the bus had already come and gone, or my prayer teacher who said, believe that inner knowing, believe that red light and green light, that drawing to something and that feeling not to do something, that little twist in your stomach, that something is there for you. And it's there for you to keep you safe. So whatever you credit it to, spirit or evolution, whatever you credit it to, you yourself have an inner knowing. We live in a society that tells us, no, I don't have any rational reason for that. I have to know why. I have to, so we get a feeling, and I might have said this before too, forgive me if I'm being repetitive, but I've been caused to remember a couple of times in the last week or so. There was a time as a young person, I was driving down Philadelphia's Schuylkill Expressway, which in Philadelphia, for those who don't know, we will often call the Shorekill Expressway. It's a horrible road. It is absolutely an atrocious road. My father, now deceased, my father was fond of saying, talking about how they created that when they opened that expressway, it was already too small, right? It does not have enough lanes where it should have enough lanes. It was cut through the heart of an already made city, and they couldn't get enough space to knock down what they needed to make it a really big highway. So it's got these two skinny lanes this way and these two skinny lanes that way, and we've got lots of curves and rocks and whatever stuff in Philadelphia. And so the Shorekill Expressway, right? I'm going down this road, and it's late at night. And actually, I think I was on my way to the bar. I think I was 21-ish years old. I'm on my way, no, I might have been 20. There was a way you could doctor your driver's license back in the day, but I think I'm 21 years old, and I'm on my way to the bar, and I have this feeling that and I'm flying along, right? Because nobody on the Schuylkill Expressway does the Schuylkill Expressway speed limit, right? Whether it's 55 or 65, and it's been set at both across my lifespan at different times, but whatever it's set at, you're doing 75, you're doing 80, you're definitely doing 15 miles over the speed limit. And so I'm sailing down the Schuylkill Expressway, and I have this sense that just comes over me, and I'm in the left lane, coming around, and there's a curve up ahead. There's always a curve up ahead on the Schuylkill, and I'm coming along, and I'm going to be rounding this curve, and something feels like, says to me, just an impression. I'm not talking about clairaudience. I'm not talking about words. God didn't, it's not God on Mount Sinai, right? I've had some of those, but it's not that. It's this simple, but there's this feeling. Change lanes and slow down. And I do. Without really knowing why, without second guessing. I just follow. And I take my foot off the gas and I change over to the right-hand lane. And by now my speed is cutting down. I'm giving it a little brake. I'm not standing on the brake, but I've taken my foot off the gas, switched lanes, begun to brake, and I round that curve. And as I round that curve, the left lane I had been in, there's a solid wall of stopped cars just around that bend. If I had come around that bend in the left-hand lane at 75 or 80 miles an hour, I would not be here tonight having this conversation, period. I would have plowed into that solid wall of stopped cars head on at 80 miles an hour and been dead. And this is before seatbelts. I'd have been dead. Instead, by switching to the right lane and cutting my speed from, let's say, 80 to 45-ish in that window of time, and there was a much longer stopping distance in the lane I switched into, it was still stopped. That traffic was not moving either, but I had the space. I had slowed enough, and I had the distance to stop, to bring my car to a stop and sit in the line of stopped cars, alive. Panting, heart pounding, clearly having an adrenaline rush, but alive and safe and unharmed. I want to encourage you tonight. This thing we're in, the numbers have increased. Last week when we talked, we were at 3 million some cases. We're 4 or almost 4, wherever we were at. This week we're at 4,812,000. We're almost at 5 million diagnosed cases. And that's not, in truth, that's not because testing has gotten much better in most places in the United States. In most places, you still are not getting and can't get a test most of the time unless you're feeling pretty bad and you're going to a hospital. Just saying. So we're almost at 5 million cases, and we are now at 150, did I write this right? 158,323 deceased in the United States. In the world, globally, 18 million diagnosed cases, over 18 million, and almost 700,000 deaths. We're not in a good place. But you have an intuitive inner guidance system. You have an inner GPS. No matter who you are, no matter what your spiritual or non-spiritual background, whether you're Gavin de Becker thinking about biology and human animals, or whether you're my prayer teacher of some decades ago talking about red light and green light, or my friend talking about God speaking about the bus, wherever you're at, spiritually or non-spiritually, as a human being, you have an internal sense that sometimes, if you're just paying attention, if you're not overriding it, if you're not demanding a reason why, but you're listening, you'll switch lanes on the Schuylkill Expressway and live to tell. Gavin de Becker argues that sense, what I call intuition, what he calls fear, is enough all by itself. If you have an intuition, don't second guess it. Don't question it. Don't wait for a reason. Don't demand a rationale. Obey it. The elevator door opens time after time. You have no weird feeling. You get on, you take the elevator. Well, maybe not in the pandemic, but before and after, when elevators are in our lives, right?
You don't even think twice about it. And then sometime that elevator door opens, and it doesn't matter if it's because it's late at night in the dark and you're in a, like you're leaving work late. It doesn't matter if it's the middle of the day. You're not looking for a rationale. There's just a feeling. I'll close before we meditate. Well, we're going to meditate, so I'll close after we meditate. But one more story. Sometimes it's just your common sense or your feeling. You just don't want to do something, or you just do want to do something. There was a time a neighbor said to me, and I was a young minister. It was early in my ministry. She was a neighbor I was ministering to. She needed a ride. She said she needed a ride to the grocery store. She wanted, she was asking for my help. And normally that would have been fine. I wouldn't have minded at all. But that particular day, I just really, really, really didn't want to go to the grocery store. I didn't want to drive her to the store, and she wanted to go to this one that was kind of far away. I just didn't want to do it. But I didn't have a rationale. I didn't have any reason to say no to her, right? And I didn't. Sometimes we haven't empowered ourselves to say no when we want to say no, and it's a real issue, especially often for women. And so I really just, I wanted to say no, but I just said, I sighed really hard, and I just kind of, not in front of her, to myself, and I said yes, and I didn't want to. And so I drove her to the grocery store. Me and my baby, her and her baby, 2 car seats, whatever, drove her to the grocery store. I didn't want to go in. I didn't need anything. I actually kind of don't like grocery stores, especially back then. I got used to them. But, I really, really didn't like them early on. And it was like, I really don't know. I don't want to be here. I don't want to go in. And then I got to thinking, well, I'm here. I guess I'll go get something. So I took myself and my baby, and we went inside. And I bought a jar of powdered iced tea mix. And I came back out waiting for my friend slash minister, whatever, person I was ministering to. And I came back out just with this jar of iced tea. She's going to come out with a whole load of groceries, and I'm just out there with this jar of iced tea, and I can't find my vehicle. It's not there. And it was a beautiful, relatively new factory customized van that my husband and I had used our faith to believe in, and it was a whole thing. And I'm looking, and I knew where I left it in the parking lot, and it's not there. And then I'm searching row after row of this large suburban grocery store parking lot, and my van wasn't there. And she came out with her groceries, and the van's not there. It's just not there. And we're searching and searching, and finally we had to call the police. We were all white, basically. She was a little Asian American, but okay. We called the police, who gave the 2 women and the 2 babies and some load of groceries a ride back to where we lived, to our building. My van was stolen. And there's a whole other story that goes beyond that. But the van was stolen. I didn't want to go. I didn't listen. You have inner feelings, whatever they are. So whether it seems supernatural or just very natural, you don't want to do it today. You don't want to go over there. You don't want to go to that barbecue. You just don't feel like whatever it is. Listen to your gut. Follow your inner GPS. It says, and there's a scripture that says, that you'll hear a voice in your ear, and it will tell you when to rise up and sit down, when to come in, when to go out, to turn to the left, turn to the right. This is the way. Walk ye in it. You have an intuitive inner guidance system, and it will help get you and yours across this pandemic, across everything that's up ahead, across the months that are up ahead, across whatever happens in your city or your suburb or your part of the rural area, whatever's up ahead for us in this next 6 months, in this next year, in all the years we have. That intuitive inner guidance will keep you safe, will help you switch lanes on the Schuylkill Expressway in time. Just don't second guess it. Don't demand a rationale. Just follow your GPS. Allow it to recalculate for you. So beginning to allow yourself to relax now. We're going to use our imaginations to create that picture image of you and yours and me and mine surviving whole and well and embodied through this entire thing. So just allow yourself to begin now to focus on your breath. You are entering in to mindfulness, being aware in this moment of the air against your skin wherever you are, whether it's cool or humid, wherever you are, just allow yourself and be aware of breathing. And as you breathe, see yourself breathing in peace and breathing away the tension. You're going to allow yourself to increasingly become aware of your intuition as opposed to your logic. They're both valuable, but you have both. And so you're breathing in peace and breathing away tension. And entering with me into your interior space, allow yourself to visualize breathing in peace and breathing away tension. And let yourself begin to drop down. Let everything around you simply carry you deeper and deeper inside into your sense of groundedness. And you remember we've used the metaphor of a mountain in these visualizations and how the mountain stands. And no matter what storms rage across its surface, the mountain is unharmed and untouched. Season by season, storm by storm, the mountain stands. Spring breaks forth in all its glory, summer in its full richness, fall as the seasons change and the colors of the leaves, and then the leaves drop off the trees in the barrenness of winter. Wherever you are right now, if you're on the East Coast, there's a storm coming up the coast. Just wherever you are right now, you, like that mountain, you and yours are undisturbed. Your house stands, your home, your place to quarantine, your place to be apart, your place to be safe. It stands, your roof, your windows, your doors. Wherever you are, see yourself safe and whole and well. And you allow yourself to deeply, completely relax as we count from 10 to 1, just letting go. Seeing yourself like the mountain, you last forever. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And if you have a belief in something divine and spirit or God by any name, source, the universe, just angels, whatever, allow yourself to begin to be aware of the presence of whatever you believe in, and even if there's nothing like that for you, imagine your own intuition or your own gift of fear. Just be aware that you are connected, surrounded, protected, like that mountain. And draw into the center of that mountain with you, like being deep down inside it, like down in a cave inside that mountain, where nothing can harm you.
Bring in those you need most and love most. Your children or grandchildren, siblings or parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, just drawing into that space. Each family member or close friend or intimate partner, anyone you need and love most, bring them into that circle with you and see that place infused with light. Even where there's darkness, your candle burns. You have a fire lit. You have illumination in the darkness. See you and yours in the circle of light, in the circle of your illumination, safe and strong and well. And imagine with me, believe with me, for the day when this has passed, by whatever means, the day comes that this too has passed, and they are still with you and they, strong, embodied, healthy, well. If anyone got sick, they fully recovered. If anyone didn't get sick, they stood strong. Just feel the feeling. Affirming science, affirming doing all you should. You listen to your own intuitive inner guidance. Encourage them to listen, and all of you make it through. Switch lanes on the expressway. Hear the voice inside. Follow that internal guidance system. And allow yourself also, with me, to expand that circle out. And we expand our circle out to include each other's circles. You and me, everyone here on this call, everyone who watches it later on YouTube or Facebook, just see each of us, all of us, as a community of people believing our way through this thing, listening to our guidance as we travel forward through time and space, into the time when this has passed over and we are all safe and well on the other side. Expanding that circle out to include our area, our neighbors, the houses around us, our neighborhoods. Expanding that circle out to include our townships, our cities, our villages, wherever you are. See it reaching out to include your region and county, your state, this nation, your nation. If you're listening from another nation, just see, including all those around you, making it through, seeing us making it through. Strong, healthy, well, embodied. Anyone in your circle that has been in any way troubled in their health, see them getting better, getting stronger, bodies love to mend. Cuts fill themselves in with new skin, bones heal, breaks. See each part of your body, bodies love to remake, to regenerate. They've even discovered they're wrong about the brain. The brain even has the ability to regenerate at some level. Just see life and health and strength and peace for you and yours and me and mine and all of ours together. And with me, see the human race getting smarter, getting better, treating the earth well, treating the earth, our mother, with love, with respect, treating air and soil and water well, finding alternative means of energy, finding different ways. See us all making a difference. See humankind managing to make those shifts and changes, just even that which, whether you see it as possible or not possible, just believe with me now, even for that which might seem impossible. And for full, fair, free elections,
However you vote, wherever you vote, whomever you vote for, see your right to vote fully supported, the right of those around you, all of the citizens see the right to vote fully supported, full and free and fair elections. See the John Lewis Voting Rights Act instated, passed. See full, free, fair, true, honorable, corruption-free, servant of the people, leaders, true democracy. Just envision with me whatever that looks like in your mind's eye. We agree together for each other's civil rights, for each other's rights as citizens, for each other's rights if we're not citizens, for our human rights. Just taking this moment, just see all of us coming up higher. All of us lifted up to higher ground. Peace and safety and strength and well-being and joy and happiness. I see with you, you doing well, yours doing well. Joyous events, birthdays and holidays and graduations to come. I see with you all the things, all the moments of sweetness, the smelling of the roses, the being present in the world, enjoying, loving, sharing. All the good that is here in this round. In the words of Garth Brooks, I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss the dance. I see you and yours enjoying the dance. Me and mine, all of us. In your mind's eye, in your heart of hearts, call out the names of those who with you arrive on the other side of this. See, pass over. And as you prepare to come back tonight, come back, determined to learn to notice when something in the region of your solar plexus, you know that place where the ribs come together in a triangle, there's a center, a bundle of nerve endings there that are sensitive, or they say they found what appear to be neurological cells at certain parts of the intestines, just a brain in the gut, just that gut feeling somewhere there in your midsection. Come back determined to begin to pay attention to what you feel like, to that voice inside that says, you know, call your friend, call your sister, call that person, and follow that guidance. Or pay attention to the times when you go to pick up the phone and something inside says, not right now, just I don't feel like it, and give yourself permission. When the voice inside you says, check the window, whatever it is, change lanes on the expressway, slow down, follow that voice that says, turn to the right, turn to the left. And just allow that day by day, week by month by year, you allow yourself to become more and more finely attuned, more and more aware of your own intuitive inner guidance. Sometimes you won't know why it said, no, take that other route home. But sometimes you will. Sometimes you'll realize what would have happened if you had stayed in the left-hand lane and not cut your speed. So follow. You are not alone. Not only are there people who do indeed care for you, who care that you're here and well,
but there is also something inside you, something of your spirit, maybe something of God or Source, something that communicates to you, this is the way. Walk over here, and it will take you from here to there, whole and well. So again we see our nation and our globe led by true servant of the people leaders in every nation of the world. We see corruption removed. We see true leadership. We see wise leadership in all the decisions up ahead, opening or not opening schools or businesses, everything up ahead. We see real science given ground in the development of treatments and vaccines. We see the pandemic past. And I agree with you that you and yours are whole and well, embodied and strong, and the plague has passed over us. And thank you for your faith, and I give you mine. Until next Sunday night, when we visualize again as we continue pressing forward, pressing our way forward. You are the mountain, and every storm passes over you.